The following tables show the information collected from a survey of students regarding their grade level and how they spend their screen time. Consider the information and use it to answer the question. What values correctly fill in blank 1, 2, and 3, and what is the probability that a randomly selected student watches TV given that the student is a 7th grader? Okay, so let's do blank 1, blank 2, blank 3. And again, notice that this frequency table is the actual number of the people that they counted from the survey. So there was a total of 28 people that they counted from the survey. 6 of them were in 7th grade and uses the internet. 3 of them were in 7th grade and watches TV. 6 of them were in 7th grade and plays video games. So there was a total of 15 7th graders. So that's how you're going to interpret this. So when you go to a probability distribution, notice that this total number is a 1. And that is because probability is always at most 1 or 100%. So again, what would you divide 28 by to end up with 1? Because probability is division. So what would you divide 28 by to end up with 1? You would divide it by 28. So every single one of these numbers here had to be divided by 28 in order to end up as a decimal in this one. So blank 1, we're going to take 6 because that's the same slot that blank 1 was, and 6 is the number of people that use the internet and are in 7th grade. 6 out of the 28 people surveyed. Let's just go to blank 2. Blank 2 is 8th graders that watch TV. So 8th graders that watch TV. Well, that was 3 out of the 28 people that were surveyed right here. And then blank 4 is our total number of people who play video games. So that there was 8 total people that played video games out of the 28 people surveyed. So now if we want to jump over to our calculator, and we'll just do 6 divided by 28. That gives us 0.214. Since that 4 is less than a 5, it will stay as 0.21. 3 out of 28 ends up being 0.107. Since the 7 is greater than a 5, it will round that up to a 1. So it'll be 0.11. And then we have 8 out of the 28, which is 0.285. Since this is a 5, it will round that 8 up to a 9. So this will equal 0.29. So let's interpret this. What does that mean? That means that there was a 21% that there was a 7th grader that uses the internet right there. It means that there was an 11% that they were an 8th grader that watches TV. That was given right there. And then it tells us that out of the total, it was a 29% that the student played games, which was found right there. So when we answer this, we're going to answer at 0.21, comma, space, 0.11, comma, space, 0.29, comma, space, and now it says the probability that a randomly selected student watches TV given that the student is a 7th grader. Okay, so we got to meet both of those requirements given that it was a 7th grader. So we're going right to that row right here, and it is going to be now out of this total right here, because we're reducing the sample size to a 7th grader now. So when you do this, you can either use the probability of distribution or the number of people. It'll turn out to be the same either way. So what that means is they just want to narrow it down to the 7th graders that were surveyed because it says given right there. Given that the student is a 7th grader. So that means they're narrowing their focus to only 7th graders. So there is a total of 7th graders right there. And now they want to know what is the percentage that they watched TV, how many watched TV. So 3 out of our 7th graders watched TV. So to find that probability, we would jump over here and say, well, 3 out of 15 is equal to 0.2. So when we enter this, we would just type in the probability as 0.2, since that is the probability that we found from the 7th grader watching TV. And again, remember, when it says this given that a student is a 7th grader, we automatically just narrow that total down to the total number of 7th graders. Sorry, that line was not straight. So the total now is out of 15, and then they wanted to know the student watching TV. Well, there was 3 out of those 15. So then we took 3 and divided it by 15 to end up with 0.2. So I hope that helps you navigate two-way frequency tables. If you wanted to use the probability distribution, you would actually just take this blank where it intersects. You would still narrow it down to 7th grader. And now it's out of this total. So it would be 0.11 divided by 0.53, which is still 0.2. So again, they line up the same way.